Now, biodiversity loss is among the top 10 most severe risks around the world. And this is all according to the World Economic Forum's 2022 Global Risk Report. Now, environmental issues made up half of the top 10 most severe risks. They include climate action failure, extreme weather, human environmental damage, and natural resource crisis. The report estimates biodiversity loss will become a critical threat to the world in the next 2 to 5 years.
With all that in mind, the State Department is putting biodiversity at the top of its priority list, and Secretary Antony Blinken has designated, I should say, Monica P. Medina as the U.S. Special Envoy for Biodiversity and Water Resources. The new title comes in addition to her duties as Assistant Secretary of State for Oceans and International Environmental and Scientific Affairs. She does a lot, this woman. She is a powerhouse. Joining us now, she's actually joining us now from Washington, D.C. with a look at, what's on the agenda to solve it. Thank you so much for being with us. You're obviously a very busy woman here, Monica. First, I want to start with, what does biodiversity mean to, an average person that's watching in layman terms, and why is it so important?
Thank you so much, Jordan and Steph, for having me. It's great to be with you. It's great to be able to take on this important challenge at this key moment. So biodiversity means everything from the clean air that we breathe to water that we drink, all kinds of services that the environment provides us. You mentioned it before, the World Economic Forum is really concerned about this, and that's a business organization because we know that a healthy economy is dependent on a healthy environment. So that's what we're trying to do, is work on conserving the environment so that we have it to depend on for all those things that we need: food, clean water, clean air.
Well, speaking of water, I know we have a bit of a water crisis, especially out in the West here in the lower 48. When it comes to biodiversity, are those linked?
They absolutely are linked. We need to conserve habitat, and when we do, we can save water and we can save the species that live in the water and all around it. So we in the U.S. government are working very hard on water security in particular. We have a global water strategy and a White House water action plan now to try and work on things like our Colorado River, and even the Mississippi River has been running dry this year, which is so remarkable. So we know that clean water is really important. And there are 40% of the people in the world, around the world, don't have access to clean and safe water for drinking and for cooking and things like that. So we know that water is one of the key points that we need to work on if we want to keep our environment healthy and keep our economy healthy.
Let's talk about COP15 in Montreal. You were just there. So what were some of the discussions specifically in terms of the 30 by 30 goal?
So 30 by 30 is this really ambitious target that the world is trying to agree on, which would mean conserving 30% of the planet by 2030. That means that we would put it under some sort of protection. It doesn't all mean absolutely no activity, but we need to protect the key ecosystem services, the things that give us that clean water and clean air. And if we can agree as a planet to do that, we are a long way on the way to conserving the kind of biodiversity and nature that we need in order to sustain the lives that we have now. So the COP is underway. It will go until the end of this week. We in the U.S. government are not a member of this particular treaty, but we've been asked, and we have come forward to be as productive as we can, as helpful as we can to all the countries that are a member of this treaty so that we can reach that 30 by 30 framework goal.
I'm glad that it's a global commitment, which is great. Can I ask where we stand on that 30 by 30? Is there more land and water that needs to be into that to make sure we reach that goal, or are we already set?
The U.S. is not quite there when it comes to ocean. We're at about 27% of the ocean, and we have a bit more of a ways to go when it comes to land. But the Biden administration has made a commitment. President himself spoke about this on the campaign trail when he was running for president. So we have committed domestically to conserve 30 and protect 30% of our own lands and waters by 2030, which means making more parks, but also more conservation in communities, which also counts towards that 30 by 30. And Indigenous communities, we know, have a huge role that they can play in this. So we're kind of all in the US on getting there. We're known as a country that really has national parks as part of who we are. And I think, we are very committed domestically, but now we want to help other countries reach that same goal. And we have a little bit of ways to go ourselves.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I know I've been kind of reading up a little bit on it, so it'll be interesting. I think it's a great thing to have this place that's designated so that we can at least enjoy it. And then of course it would help the environment and everything below that. So Monica Medina, thank you so much for your time. We know how busy you are. We appreciate that. United States Special Envoy for Biodiversity and Water Resources.